Hello everyone, we're going to do homework number 11, number 5. The following is a sample of 5 matched pairs. Sample 1 contains 23, 26, 18, 32, and 28, while sample 2 contains 19, 14, 16, 12, and 14. Now we're just going to ignore all this mumbo jumbo because what we're just trying to figure out is what to do, in which we're going to compute the test statistic with our two data sets, sample 1 and sample 2. So I'll show you how to do so. So number 5, we're going to be finding t, or the test statistic. Now to find t, it's going to be t equals d divided by the sample standard deviation divided by the square root of n, or the sample size. So what do we know? We know that n equals 5 because we have 5 matched pairs and there's a total of 5 numbers. So n equals 5 on both sides. Now, we don't know what d is, or do we know what the s, or sample standard deviation, is. So we're basically going to be doing the exact same steps as 2 and 3 on the front page. So let's do so. All right, now we're going to be finding d first. So to find d, we're going to be using this formula. D equals x1 minus x2 dataset divided by n. So how do we find x1 minus 2? Well, we're just going to get our two samples, and we'll refer to them as x1 for sample 1 and x2 for sample 2. So I've already wrote them down. Here are all the numbers. And we're just going to subtract them from each other. So 23 minus 19, and so on and so forth. And then the resulting numbers is our x1 minus x2 data set. So it's going to be 4, 12, 2, 20, and 14. Now, out of the way, we got the top, x1 minus x2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add up all of these numbers, in which we get 52, and we're going to divide it by the sample size, in which it's n equals 5. So 52 divided by 5 equals, or d equals 10.4. And with that, we got d. Now we're going to find s. Alrighty, now we're going to find s. Now to find s, or the sample standard deviation, we're going to be using this formula, which is going to be the square root of the entirety of this thing, x1 minus x2 minus d squared divided by n minus 1. Now remember, this is the entirety of it squared, square rooted. So we already have our x1 minus x2, so I just brought that down. And we already have our d, which I did in green, which is 10.4. So we're going to do 4 minus 10.4, 12, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Now the resulting numbers is right here, as I wrote, this is the x1 minus x2 minus d. So we did this part right here, which is going to result in negative 6.4, 1.6, negative 8.4, 9.6, and 3.6. Now, as you can see here, there's another parentheses, and we're going to square it. So that's what this means right here. I just put it in there and squared it, in which we get these numbers: 40.96, 2.56, 70.56, 92.16, and 12.96. And the same thing as we did up here, we're going to add them all up and then put them in that formula right there. So when we add them all up, seen here, it's going to equal to 219.2 divided by 4. Since we are doing n minus 1, so it would be 5 minus 1 equals 4. So 219.2 divided by 4, and square root that, we would get this humongous number. I recommend using the exact number your calculator gives you for the most exact answer. So now we have S and we have D. Now with those done, now we can finally put it in this equation right here. So let's do that. All right, we already solved for D and S, and we already have N. Now, since we have all of these three variables, we're going to plug it into this formula. T equals D divided by S divided by square root of N. So when we plug it in, it's going to look something like this. 10.4 divided by 7.402700, 02209 divided by the square root of 5. And with that, once we do everything, we are going to get this number. T equals 3.14143 with some more numbers behind it. We have represented by dots. Now in the homework, we are going to round it to 3 decimal points. So we're going to do that to our answer. So T, or the test statistic, is going to equal to 3.141. And that is C, Charlie. Alrighty, and here's all the work. Any questions, feel free to ask. Have a good night.